Gotta check it. Oh yeah, YouTube just says sending data. 3, 2, 1.
We're coming back in 10 seconds.
Thank you. Facebook says offline. That's weird. It's sending data again.
Now let's get back with HealthSpark's radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So the one of the big talking points on the right was, of course, inflation is on the way. The worst inflation you've ever seen, and it's basically a reflection. It's 1970s America. It's Carter administration. This is the talking point that was going to be pushed when Biden got in, because he's an older white guy, and therefore we'll just push this whole weak Carter idea, and then the magic Reagan, Trump will reappear in 2024 and win win again magically, whatever. Let me just be abundantly clear. Trump is not going to win. He's not going to run. He's grifting his supporters out of money up until then, and then that's it. I mean, there's no.
He's going to take your money till he croaks from some horrible, slow, icky thing.
Right. So over the course of the next couple of years, he will suppose. He will. He's just announced that he's supporting someone to run against Lisa Murkowski. He is going to be positioning himself as a kingmaker. Unfortunately, he's stayed away from making any kings and just decided to toss his own lords, I guess, if that's the analogy you're going for. He's just going to bring down his own. So in this case, and by the way, real audio is late. Okay, good to know. Thank you for that information, Shamor Lear. That I appreciate that. That's what helps. I will. So the last, I guess, couple of weeks, there's been this footsie around the Trump organization about him, starting his own social media network, that he's going to create this, it's going to be better than Facebook, just like fwank.com, and now he has announced that there is, I suppose, the launch of new rallies, right? This is this is what we're finding out. This is the, for some reason, he thinks the turnout is going to be equally good, that it's going to basically bring out all these folks, and it's going to drive these folks to, show up at, apropos of nothing, by the way, and not during a COVID, where they all, didn't believe in it, thought it was a pandemic, thought it was all fake, thought the vaccine was a great thing that Trump created and something that would never put in their own bodies. That part I can't match in my own head. It's very curious.
That really is one of the most amazing things. They want credit for this vaccine for something that doesn't exist.
Right. So in terms of, I suppose, Trump's own followers, his own peeps, wanting to have some sort of hope for the future, they are counting on this. And it's why when things like Juneteenth happen, or when the infrastructure, we start hearing progress from Joe Manchin on a version of voting rights, and again, there's been a lot of turmoil around the idea of voter ID, because southern states specifically, the ones that were affected by the the original Voting Rights Act, and that were kept away from their worst endeavors, they were, I suppose they were hoping that they could just go back to it and it would be 1970 and 1980 and in the 1990s all over again, when it was harder to get an ID and people weren't digital in their lives, so they didn't need one as much, so fewer and fewer people had them. And now they find themselves in a situation where the number of poor rednecks who are hardcore Trumpers, a base that they have cultivated over the last you know, I suppose, let's see, hopefully, maybe this will work. We're going to yeah, we're going to, let's see. Oh, the audio is ahead of the video.
What am I doing with my fingers?
Nothing. Yes, don't worry about it. The reality is, I guess, for a lot of people, is that, you know, we who live in reality know that Trump is not going to do this again. A lot of people is that, you know, we who live in reality know that Trump is not going to do this again. That this is that the whole thing is it's just a fantasy. It is madness. There is no point where Donald Trump is going to run again successfully in 2024. The man is a mess. And every story you hear coming out is, again, this sort of Trumpistan maggot projection that's become the methodology of the entire, I'm doing another slate so people can tell how far the audio is out of sync. Yeah, that's how we do it. But this whole summer, as life gets back and as people go back to work and as UI runs out, the unfortunate part that Republicans are going to have to deal with is that a huge number of Trump supporters have benefited from the extension of unemployment insurance, were in desperate need of it, are the very people who say that, you know, I suppose that this makes people lazy, right? That, you know, Glenn Beck, on the clip I showed yesterday on my live stream, is saying, you know, that it's Marxism and they're trying to turn people lazy. This is the goal. This is the whole purpose, is to make people lazy. They desperately need this kind of laziness, because that's been the end game forever. Not recognizing that all the black people in the country that they're trying to keep from voting, that they're trying to deny voting rights to by limiting the number of voting machines in their area, especially the functional ones, give all the broken ones to those areas, make people have to have a photo ID, all those kind of things. The Democrats, I have news for you folks, the Democrats are ready for this next time. All the laws that these folks are pushing are either going to be challenged in the courts and therefore nullified during 2022. And if they do become law by 2024, the Democrats will have a strategy in place to make sure that voters of color and minority voters and people who've been disenfranchised are going to have every means and wherewithal to shoehorn within that limitation. That they're going to be able to make sure that the people in those areas are going to have the ID.
It really does kind of speak to the thing of, you can't tell me what I can and can't do. It makes people stand up for themselves more than they would have.
Right.
You don't want me to vote this time? Well, now I'm going to go out of my way.
Right. Well, especially when it comes to, you know, I don't think anything excites a voter like the idea that their vote's going to be taken away. You know, that you know what I mean? One of the biggest things you can do to motivate a voting bloc is to take away something you took for granted. And in the case of Republicans, that seems to be their only get out the vote plan for their own voters, which is, tell you what, we're tired of trying to motivate you because we can't with policy. We can't make it happen. There's nothing we can do. This, you know, there is, hold on one second. There's nothing we can do to get Republican voters to actually care about Republican policies, because it doesn't line up with what you live through. But so what we're going to do is we're going to scare you about who else is going to vote, who you're going to vote against, vilify the other side, and then we're going to do everything we can to suppress their vote. So the ones of you that do show up, we will outnumber them, not because about it. Right. That's the methodology. So I don't suspect, and we got to take a break. I don't suspect that it's going to work. I think all of these voter bills, and I said this last week, and I still believe it, and I will stick to this, that all these voting bills that they're putting forward have little or nothing to do. They might have some, tangential hope that it will diminish black people voting and Hispanic people voting and minority voting of every kind based by neighborhood. And certainly districts, muting the power of certain districts within a state. Whatever it is, black, brown, or otherwise, in this district, if this is a big white area where there's a bunch of Democrats are going to vote and tilt the state by populace, we're going to do everything we can to limit the voting in that area too. Ultimately has nothing, that's a mild hope by a small group or the fringe of it. The base reason is because Donald Trump has scared off so many Republican voters, and they don't believe that voting works anymore. They're not voting. And the New Mexico race showed that, and it's just getting worse. Michigan's lost one of its strongholds. It is a terrible sign because there are more poor white people who don't have an ID in this country that would vote for Trump, that would support it, the Republican candidates, and the more egregious, the better, than there are black people in the whole country. And they are cutting off their nose to spite their face. And all these bills are just there to go, no, voting's fine. No, I know it was fixed and Trump should have won and he really did won. Yes, to your ridiculous conspiracy theory. Yeah, all that, yes. But we fixed it. Please vote in 2022 or we're going to lose all these seats. And that it's going to be, it won't be 60-40, but it's going to be 55-45 Democrat if you don't watch. So we'll be back right after this. So let's see. All right. So this is. All right. Try Let me see. I need another source to look up the audio on here and just see how, because then I can tell what the audio is like, because I know what I said.
I know what I said.
All right. Let me see. I need another source. Okay, so the audio is behind the video. That's weird. That usually it's the other way around. Yeah. I don't hear Chicago right now. It's incredibly quiet, but that's fine. Okay. Let's see.
Would you like to hear Chicago?
What the heck happened there? That's weird. There was like a keyframe every 60 seconds on the settings. It just reset one of these things. It's very odd. Okay, hold on. Now I gotta zip ahead and see if it's. Yep, okay, so the audio is after the video. That's so odd. That doesn't happen. I don't understand it. It's usually the other way around. Yeah.
Yeah. See?
I can't hear you. That's weird. Oh, I see. Hold on.
We're back in 20.
1, 2. Can you hear me now? Yes?
Yeah, okay. I
can hear you.
I think. I can hear you.
Chicago can hear me.
Here we go. Of course.
I don't think he hears you either, Chicago.
Yeah, I can hear you now, but it's just a little weird.
Okay.
These guys, hold on one second. Yeah. It should be okay, maybe.
This is Doris Davenport, host of The Doris Davenport Show, all local, all the time. Now let's get back to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back to the show. So I'm figuring this out as we go. It's just one of those things. It's just life in the digital realm. It's one of those things that ne'er happens. It just doesn't.
It never happens.
It never happens. I don't know why. But I'm going to try something. Well, no, that won't do it. There's certain things I know I could try and fix.
That'll never work.
That'll never work. There's just no way that's going to happen. So technical difficulty, and it's off by like a very static amount, so it's kind of maddening in that regard. So much of what we, when we hear the Trump world clamoring for him to come back, right? We know they have to have him be their dude. We need they spent so much time building him up that there can be no replacement. That's the pickle they find themselves in currently, if I can use the phrase pickle, and I think that I can. This is a conundrum for them because you can't replace him. Before it was the GOP, the Republican Party, everything about it was, stood for America and security and anti-immigration and you got everything you wanted from the Republican Party. Now you can't trust anybody in the Republican Party. Yeah, PHK in our chat is saying he's the Messiah. All the things they said that the left felt about, liberals felt about Obama, that we deified him as a human being, that we elevated him to some sort of magical level, is true of their feelings towards Trump. There is no other way for them. There is no other, what is John Kasich going to come in and save the party? Is there really a situation where Marge Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz get to run as the Trumpistan crowd and go, we're going to run as president and vice president, but he's going to tell us what to do from Mar-a-Lago? They are legitimately setting up a shadow presidency for Trump. It's stunning. And I don't know how you manage that. I don't know how, in terms of what you as a leader would do in the GOP for yourself and your own legacy and your own potential as a leader, when what you must do is tell everyone that you will do what Trump will tell you to do. Over the last week, we've heard, because of the foreign policy stuff, that Biden was going out there and that literally from two different sources on the right, I heard the same talking point, which was that Obama is pulling the strings on Biden, and Obama's strings were pulled by Hillary's people. So Hillary is running things through Obama and Biden right now. So Hillary's really president, and she's bank shotting through Obama to Biden as if he would, because Biden wouldn't listen to her in theory, but he'll take the instructions from Obama. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. But they need that to be true for this, because if Biden's ideas are popular amongst Republicans, I don't know how they sell the idea that Hillary's ideas are popular via Obama to him, but it doesn't break down. If you dig into it, it falls apart. But in the case of Biden right now, 60% of what he's proposing, beg your pardon, what he's proposing is popular with 60% of Republicans. That's a really tough situation for them to be in terms of who's going to get votes in 2022 and 2024. Because if you're talking about kingmakers, if you're talking about 60-40, it depends. I suppose there's some element of who's up for election next time and who they have the possibility of putting in, because if it's a very red district and Trump can go in there and install somebody who's a maggot stalwart, then he'll increase his points on the board. But anywhere else that's a swing district, the person who's going to lean towards compromise and functional government, which would be a Biden Republican, I suppose, in that situation, like there were Obama Republican. I guess they would be the same as they're the independents that used to be Bush voters but turned on him because of the Iraq War and ended up voting for Obama. Those fluctuating people that call themselves independents but continue to vote Republican, but they're too embarrassed to say it.
Yeah.
So, that's that crowd. So but they really do have this problem of this messianic belief behind Trump. And I mean, there are, on my live stream, I show clips from Flashpoint, this prophetic, hyper-Christian show that's always on. People on Newsmax and the like they line up, Greg Kelly is playing like memory videos, the kind of, how your photo app on your iPhone will sometimes just create a movie with tender music out of some of your shots from, remember summer, like a couple of years ago, here's your summer vacation with some guitar music behind it, some light acoustic stuff to make, remember how cheery it was? Here's you smiling, right? He's literally making like compilation videos of, oh, wasn't it wonderful? I mean, maybe somebody on, a liberal channel did that with Obama when Trump got in, but this seems pathological. It's downright Branch Davidian, and I'm not sure how they. I mean, in the House it'd be easy because the House can be lockstep followers of Trump. In the Senate, that's way harder. That's got to be statewide. You can have these Trump districts, but they're not the majority of the state in a lot of cases, as Georgia showed us. So getting a statewide Trumpian installed over a popular Republican, or even I suppose a conservative Democrat, is going to be a much harder row to hoe, right? And quit.
Why does that make me laugh?
It's the other way around.
Okay.
Yes, depending on the size of your boat, I guess, in theory. But in Trump's case, he's now going for Lisa Murkowski. He's now going for Senate seats, and that's the only way he can, between now and 2024, make himself the godfather. Because that's what he has to do to have any power left, to keep this money rolling in. And we're almost to the news break, but I want to say to any maggot within the sound of my voice, or any of the Trumpsters, or anybody in Trumpistan, please go to donaldjtrump.com and give him all of your money. I don't know why you would trust the RNC. Everywhere you turn, the biggest villains on the right now are Republicans. Mike Pence was at the Faith and Freedom Conference. They were yelling traitor at him. They were chanting it. These are the very people who showed up on January 6th and built a gallows, and yet he felt like he could go up before them and say, I'm a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican in that order. Never mentioning an American in that, it's very odd because, again, maybe this whole thing has been this long game Southern strategy of reestablishing effectively a Confederate caliphate in the South that controls a huge voting bloc, and then the red states with more than their fair share of senators being able to basically operate the government with impunity, creating this filibuster wall by unfairly, states that have, fewer people in them than Santa Monica, California, but with 2 senators. And that strategy for a while was starting to work, and now it's starting to fall as places become more diverse, as voters become more open-minded, as things like gay marriage pass and the world doesn't fall apart. Each of those things is incredibly difficult for them to sell now as, well, the monster's still coming. Trust me this time. I know I said the end was coming before, but the end is truly nigh right now. And it's just that is, again, that's what these voting laws are about. They're about motivating Republican voters because they're losing that motivation. They just do not trust their own establishment. They are being told by every source on social media that the Republicans are the worst of it. And I except in the cases where it's obviously Russian troll farms sowing discontent in our country, I'm for it. If it's Republicans just yelling amongst themselves and undercutting their own thing, chewing their own ankles, I don't know what I'm supposed to do about it or why I'm even supposed to care. If a party's supposed to fail because it's outlived its usefulness, that's how it works. That said, when it's outsiders ginning up this discontent, fomenting this violence, trying to turn what was effectively a conservative party into an insurrectionist party so that more and more of them will choose violence, that's a point of concern. We'll be back after the news. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. All right, now.
What do we do?
What do I, well, the problem I have is it's a,
what is your problem?
yeah, is that audio is lagging, not video. So, let's see. Can you do -8? Whoops. Nope, that doesn't work. Yeah, I see that slight delay, and well, no, that's normal. That's just video. So very weird.